Good morning, all. So I spent the yesterday and this morning tallying all the playtest records for this my Big Country Boxers. So for those who don't know, my Big Country universe, I had written for Big Country Boxing, which is available in PDF from Drive-Thru RPG. It did come out in a paperback and a PDF on Lulu, but I have since removed it as I'm featuring Big Country Boxing Time. Anyway, that was a career-based game, and in all my playtesting, guys amassed some records in the playtesting just with making sure that system worked. But when I was playtesting Boxing Time, I took those same key boxers and fought playtests. And that's where these charts. So for those who don't know, in all the Boxing Time versions of the books, there are the top 10. There are the top 10 lightweights, top 10 middleweights, and the top 10 heavyweights. Fictional. These are all the fictional fighters, and I don't put the records in because I don't want to spoil it for players. I want people to play, and I also didn't want to put in every boxer in my universe that I used to test play the game. But I kept all those boxers, and those boxers came out later in a free file, which I'm not certain whether that's still available or not. And all those boxers were transcribed onto my cards, index cards, for my boxers in my career to fight through. Same as all the playtest fighters had to do. So anyway, this morning I decided I would yesterday afternoon, I should see yesterday at lunch, and this morning, bright and early, I went through all my old playtest records and tallied up my champion and the runner-up, number 2, and I'm going to have other fight. So I have never fought Cyrus Johnson versus Ben Walton. I stopped all playtesting of all the fighters and boxers to write up and put Boxing Time out there in the big book. So I stopped before I ever had Cyrus Johnson meet Ben Walton, and I've never fought it. There was no reason to. My goal was to play test and get these boxers put in properly. All right. But it hit me the other day in watching, in remembering back on, and a lot of times remember when I was test playing, I am not spending time getting into a narrative. I grab the two boxers, use their ratings, and roll out the results using the charts. And then, of course, if I think the charts need to be tweaked, I tweak the charts. And I don't change the boxers. The boxers were created using my boxer creation rules. So I just created as many boxers as I could, and I started fighting boxers. And that would, obviously they would kind of fall into their place, right? Ben Walton became, after 22 fights, became my champion, as I had a title fight in my 25th bout with him, not my 21st bout ever, just my 21st bout with him. I made it a title fight because it was a fascinating matchup between. Well, I'll talk about it in a second. Anyway, long story short, I decided to write down in chronological order when these fights occurred for Ben Walton, and then of course I wrote down all of Felton's fights in chronological order to tally their records. And this brings us to Cyrus Johnson, the number 2 ranked heavyweight in my little playtest universe, facing Ben Walton. Okay, but before I do that, I thought I would talk a little bit about again, my fictional universe. So you can read about all the teams that are featured in these leagues and for boxers, right? So Ben Walton comes from Grand Bay. This is the second largest city in the region, and as you might have guessed, is the shipping hub for the region. Grand Bay is a sizable city of industry, shipping, and it features the longshoremen unions. This is a tough city, a city of hard-nosed and hard-working men and women. Grand Bay sees coal from Coaldale and steel from Unionville come in by rail and truck and ship out all over the world from this port. Grand Bayers love their baseball and despise gambling their hard-earned wages, but they will buy tickets and fill the seats on game day. That's the city our champion is from, Ben Walton. And Springfield is a small hub town for a rural community of corn and wheat farmers and their families. There is little to do in Springfield, but the boxing circuit, does make a stop here weekly as the community is large enough to support weekly fight nights. Springfield produces corn-fed kids, and they choose baseball and basketball for the most part. However, the current number 2 ranked heavyweight boxer is Cyrus Johnson from Springfield. So I used some of my playtesting of Big Country Boxing, and then as I was playtesting out Big Country Boxing Time, because I knew I was going to be putting all my games in this big book, that kind of inspired, a little bit of the lore. And of course, because I had never fought Cyrus versus Walton, there was no more to say. And in Grand Bay, you'll notice I leave Walton. Grand Bayers may take for granted that they are the home of the heavyweight champ because they prefer baseball and basketball. And when you see how the Grand Bay baseball team is rated, right, you would know when I did my playtesting, Grand Bay, their basketball team, their baseball team is, in my playtest, was basically the best team in the game. And that's a big part because of their ace pitching staff. And their lineup features only 1-0 in their lineup. So Grand Bay in my baseball playtests was pretty damn good. So of course that gave me a reason to mention that Grand Bayers would love their baseball team and be inspired by baseball, right? So that's where some of this narrative came out of my playtesting and my cities and my teams. Okay. All right, without further ado, we're going to play these two, and I thought, for the hell of it, and for those who don't know, this is the 4th edition. This is the very latest edition of all of the games. This has been out since in 2025. I can't remember. It's the last one I've ever published, and there is still the 2.5 version in this. None of the stuff that I've done on YouTube involving, matter of fact, Ben Walton, I don't believe I fought. I might have fought Ben Walton here on the channel. I can't remember. But long story short, I didn't count any records before or since the book's been released, right? So if there's been other fights involving Ben Walton or whatever, I didn't tally those. These are just his chronological playtest fights to get him to why would he have been named my champion? Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the champ. So the champ was, let's see here, he had fought, he was 5-0 with 5 KOs before his first unanimous decision. This one I was using 3 judges. He was 6-0 with 5 KOs, and then he went on another string. Made it to 10-0 with 8 KOs, and then he went on a long run, became 15-0 with 11 KOs before his first loss, which was to Carlisle. So Walton was KO'd by Carlisle in bout 16. That made him 15-11-1. Then he defeated Matthews in a TKO 16-1, and then he defeated Boone in a TKO 17-1, and then he had a rematch with Carl, and he beat him on points, 18 wins, 13 knockouts, 1 loss. But once he redeemed himself against Carlisle, his next fight was a KO, 19 wins, 14 over Adkins. But it was when he beat Parks, which was a tough bout. This was a title fight. So Parks, I can't remember what his record was when they fought. Remember, I only tallied these 2 guys this morning. My goal will be to tally all the records for all of my boxers. I won't publish them because, again, I don't want to spoil, but I do want to enjoy all of this playtesting work. Anyway, Parks, for some reason, I chose those 2 to fight for the heavyweight vacated belt. Basically, I did not have any title holders when I playtested the game. But Parks was obviously, and I cannot remember what his record was. I'd have to tally him again. But Parks was good enough that I made it a title fight to determine who was the belt holder, and he won on points. So he's 20-14-1. And then he did have a title defense versus Allison. He KO'd Allison in 8. He's 21 wins, 15 KOs, and 1 loss. And then, of course, bout 23 will be today, this morning. So Ben Walton is the heavyweight champ in my universe of boxing time. This would be considered 1940. So his career, I didn't tally years or anything, but normally my career tells you that minimum 6 fights should be a career year. So if he's got 22 fights, you can figure he's in his 3rd year, 4th year. So it took him 4 years of game time to become 21. And so if it's 1948 in my book, then you figure he started boxing in 44. Again, tough to say that he would go back before the war. So maybe the war interrupted his career. Who knows? But the point is, again, I didn't write history. I wrote narratives, and I wanted it to be based on the post-World War II America. And I wanted, of course, to play test all the games, and that kind of inspired the write-ups. So anyway, long story short, Ben Walton will come in here, heavyweight champ. So again, we're going to say this is the heavyweight. This will be a 12-round bout. Actually, normally I do for old school, it'll be 15-round heavyweight fight. It's a title fight. And it's the first time I've ever fought these two that I can recall. It wasn't, obviously, I didn't fight him in my playtest, for sure. I might have somehow on YouTube even fought these two and just don't remember doing it. Anyway, so we've got Ben Walton. He is 21, 15 knockouts, 1 loss, no ties, versus, all right, let's go over Cyrus Johnson. So Cyrus Johnson's was tested less. Probably because once I got him, again, I was play testing all kinds of different fights, different fighters. Some of these fights were determined in big country boxing. So some of these fights actually go back to the big country boxing, which is a completely different game engine, 100% fast play, career-based game. It's not meant for you to tally. It's not meant necessarily to be, it's more of a story game, right? This Boxing Time was my flagship boxing simulator. All right. So anyway, so Johnson, we got to see here. Johnson was 6-0 with 6 KOs before he had a bout go to points, and so he's 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, 11-0, 12-0. 13-0, and finally to get to this title shot, TS. So I noted it this morning as what would have been the title shot. He is 14-0 with 11 KOs, no losses. So Cyrus, I noticed when I looked back and tallied the chronological dates when these fights went down, there were guys that I'd already fought a lot of fights with and didn't fight him against, or I was jumping him because he was, doing so well. So there it is, folks. We've got a heavyweight. We have got a legitimate contender in Johnson of Springfield. Johnson comes in here 14-0 with 11 knockouts, no losses. Again, normally that would be a little early for a heavyweight guy to get a title shot, but we can imagine. So he's ended 11 bouts. He's stopped 11 fighters in 11 out of 14 bouts. That's pretty incredible. Ben Johnson stopped 15 boxers in 21 bouts early, and he's lost a fight. So in 20 bouts, Walton has stopped 15 early, before time. Johnson has stopped 11 before time. So, but Johnson, this is what's amazing. Johnson did it TKO, 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 TKO. He has only 2 actual knockouts in his career. The rest are all TKOs. He just lights guys up scoring points. Although Ben Walton has got a KO, 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 TKO, 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 KO, TKO. So a lot of his, remember, it's not easy with guys with a chin to get an easy knockout, but he actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legit KOs that were straight knockouts out of his 15. The other were TKO stoppages due to cuts, points, or knockdowns. Knocking a guy down 3 times in a round or something. And Cyrus has 2. The rest are all, and they were ended, some of them early. TKO in 3 rounds, TKO in 2 rounds, TKO in 3. So he's a point scoring boxer, basically. All right, so we already know we're going to have, hopefully, a 12-round bout. I don't know, though. Walton, Johnson has a chin, and his desire is good, so it's not going to be easy to knock out Cyrus Johnson. All right, so we have a legitimate a heavyweight championship title defense. This will be title defense TD number 2 for Walton, as his first title fight was to earn it against Parks. Then he defended his title against Allison, a knockout in 8. And then I stopped my playtesting, right? So basically I will tally records for, not every fighter, but I'll probably tally the records for my top 10. Because again, I did not fight every boxer like 40 times or anything like that, right? I just had made a ton of boxers, and then that also informed me, you know, who was the top 10 to go in the book. All right, so let's go ahead. Ben Walton here is a boxer, slugger A. So we're going to use his slugger because Johnson, believe it or not, is a slugger B. So this is going to be interesting. We got slugger versus slugger. So we got A versus defensive C. So Walton will be a bad grade of A. Johnson is B versus defensive C. So again, slugger versus slugger. B versus C. He'll be a B. So Johnson's already at a slight disadvantage. TKO for Ben Walton is 10. So I'll put here 10 as a reminder. And of course, he fatigues in round 10. Cyrus Johnson is a TKO of 8. So again, slight advantage for the champ. And his endurance is 9. So Cyrus doesn't have the punching power. So here's what's amazing. Let's go ahead and look at the ratings. So Ben, of course, can box or slug, BA. His defense is not great, but again, many heavyweight champs, they're not necessarily defensive guys, C. But his power's a B, his chin's a B, and his desire is an A. And then he's a 10-10. So he rates out to 25 points, which ironically, I did the ratings. I did not publish how I rate the boxers until the last couple of versions, including this version of the... I don't teach you how to rate the boxers or to point out the boxers in the newest version. There was a standalone version where I actually showed you how to tally these numbers to get you a value, which would tell you, you know, what a boxer's quality is. There is a version in which I do that. I might tell you how to do that in this. I don't think this version... I tried to simplify and keep the page count down in the latest version, so I took out a lot of extraneous stuff to keep the page count down. Okay. So there's Ben Walton, and again, what makes him a great champ is the A ability to slug against boxers or sluggers. An A, a good power, a great chin, and a fabulous desire. And then again, he has nothing below a C. So that's, I think, the big deal. Cyrus Johnson, on the other hand, is a CB. So boxes at C, slugs at B, defense at C again. His power's an F. This is why he has so many TKOs. He can't knock out opponents, but he may score knockdowns, but he's going to outscore opponents, and he's going to rack up enough points to get TKOs. But he isn't able to knock out anybody with a power of F. His chin is why he's here. He's an A chin. He's a desire of B. And again, he avoids that low TKO. What you don't want is a low TKO, because you're most likely going to lose fights unless you have a great defensive boxer. So if you're going to have a low TKO, you better have a high defense. Right? Okay. So we have our bad grades. We have our TKO ratings. And let's go ahead and get started. Again, we have our red corner first, blue corner is red second, and then I'll have to pick up and roll for any events, right? All right, so here we go. May the best man win. Again, I have not, outside, because I've, of course, since publishing all the books, I have made my own fighters and I've boxed them, but none of them have earned a right to fight either one of these guys. So I haven't had a fight with these guys outside of messing around. And again, I think I had a bout on the channel featuring Cyrus Johnson and one of the fighters at some point. It might have even been against Ben Walton, but I did not tally their history in my playtest. So these are playtest results, which means there would have been some rule changes, there would have been some tweaks to charts and things that would have influenced some of this. But the point is, they were consistent, and that's why Ben Walton became my champ, Cyrus Johnson became my number 2, and now I'm just getting ready to fight. So this is a big day here. What is it, February? I think it's Super Bowl Sunday. No, I'm kidding. I know it's Super Bowl Sunday, but I can't remember what the date is. Is it the 8th? I can't remember. All right, here we go, folks. This is a big fight, biggest fight in boxing, big country boxing time. It's history, as we're going to finally see Ben Walton and Cyrus Johnson. May the best man win. Grand Bayers, proud of their heavyweight champ, but probably appreciated. And of course, Springfield. I don't know if I have Yeah, I don't have my hometown chart in these because again, I tried to cull out extraneous information to keep the page count down in the final copy. So I don't have the hometown, but we can assume that this would be at Central City. Matter of fact, we're going to say this is Central City Arena because that's the big city. Central City is the big central city, obviously Central big city. So think of this as like the largest city in the region. So they're going to probably have it here. So no, there's no home advantage. Again, but Springfielders would be remarkably proud of Cyrus Johnson to come out of small town Springfield and be maybe heavyweight champion of the world. All right, round one, first minute, ding, 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 here we go. Oh man, what a first toe-to-toe. 3 points are scored by Walton. That's already big news. 6 is an event on the B charts for Cyrus. So Cyrus wants to roll a 6. No, 4. He's going to score 2. So Cyrus Johnson, and all that tells us as an event is that's ring movement. Johnson's trying to get away, covering up, fights himself out of the corner, but Ben Walton in the first minute is winning this fight with a clear advantage, 3-2. 3 is a big point advantage. And 3. Cyrus in the second, Walton in the second minute is going to score 2 again. Cyrus on B in the second minute is going to score 2. So boy, both these guys are putting up points. They come out lively, throwing lots of punches, moving around a lot. 3, it's going to be 2 more points. And guess what, folks? That is a TKO. This is where the TKO hurts. 5, 6, 7. 6 or more as a round is a TKO point. And 2 is no points scored for Johnson. So the champ's going to win that round 10-9. And he also already scored a TKO point against Johnson. So that means he scored enough points and did enough damage that we're starting to see swelling. Maybe he stumbled Johnson. And again, TKO points aren't like an obvious where the ref had to break it up or the ref had to do a standing 8. No. It's just this, as the fight wears on, anybody who watches boxing can see the fighters and see the damage on the body. And you can start to, as a fan of boxing, you can start to see many times that there's a potential of a fight being stopped because guys like Walton might get 4 or 5 good blows in a row, like a series of combinations, which Johnson staggered, was on the ropes trying to fight off. And so it's not, it's not like there's actual, obviously abstractly we have to represent that. How is that kind of thing adding up over the course of a fight? That's how the TKO works in mine. It just adds up over time. All right, anybody who's watched my boxing videos of note recently, especially between Sullivan and Marciano, you can see the punishment these boxers were taking, right? Okay, so here we go. Round 2. Walton is winning the fight. He's going to score no points in the first minute, so they come out sizing each other up. Nobody scores in the first minute, so they're clinching. They're kind of pacing themselves, maybe trying to find distance. Wow, and Walton completely and Johnson with contempt is batting away Walton's punches, bobbing, weaving. Again, Johnson has won these fights with point scoring TKOs. 6 though, he's going to actually score an event on Walton, so he is literally dodging, bobbing, weaving. Walton is blanked so far this round. If I roll a 6, there's a chance at a knockdown. No, it's going to be 1 point scored. So again, in the corner, he blocks and dodges well Walton's punches. And the third minute, it's going to be a 2-point minute though. And then Johnson is going to score nothing. And guess what, folks? Walton steals the round in the final minute. Right? So good boxers, great boxers know when you hear the 10-second tap, good boxers will throw flurries of punches in that last 10 seconds, very often stealing rounds from judges. So you can see Walton as being the veteran champion in that final minute, steals the round with a flurry of punches, good boxing, and he steals it 10-9. So Johnson, surprised there. So the first round, hugely active. We scored a TKO point against Johnson. Second round, Walton stymied the first 2 minutes, but in the third minute, somehow steals the round from Johnson. And Walton is the dominant right now is looking like the better fighter. Here we go, 4. It's going to be 2 points. So Walton comes out off his stool and scores 2 quickly. So does Johnson. So they're toe-to-toe, 2 points each, first minute. Wow, 2 more and we get 5. We get a 3-point segment. So Johnson, in the second minute of the round, starts moving, bobbing, weaving, scoring punches. 1 more point, Johnson will have scored a point TKO against Walton. Oh, we got an event. This could be epic. Uh-oh, and 1. Remember, we don't bother to make the score because this could be the end of the fight. That is an event. Now we roll again. We want a 6. That's a flash knockdown. And no, he is going to score a cut, though, so that's huge. That is going to be a TKO point against. And, of course, 1 is 0 points. Guess what, though? Johnson scored 5-2. Johnson, despite being cut, wins that round. Wow, so Walton drew blood or is swelling the eyes, something. You know, again, a cut doesn't have to be a literal cut. It can damage. But Johnson, with 5 points in the first 2 minutes, outscored him. He's going to steal that round despite accruing more damage to his body. All right, here we go. Round 4. It is 29-28 point-wise. Here we go. 3. It's going to be a 2-point minute for Walton as he's doing really well. 3 is the best you can do. So when you get a 3, that is a very, very exciting minute of action for a boxer. And 4 is 2, but there we go. So you can get an idea that 3 is a big deal for one boxer in a minute. 2 is above average. So if both boxers are above average, that's good action. So that first minute, lots of action. If you get 2 3s, holy cow, it's like some of the greatest round minutes in history, right? Kind of thing, right? Here we go. And yep, we're going to get an event. And 3 won't count yet until I check the event. So again, we want a 6 as a flash KO. It's going to be a 2-point minute again for Walton. And 3 on B is 1 minute. So Walton's winning 4-3. And 3 is going to be 2 more. That's another TKO point against Johnson on points. And 2 is going to be no points against. And Johnson continues to win just better boxing. And he has accrued 6, which is an automatic TKO point. Again, that tells you how active. So 2 sounds low. It's really like it's like grading. 3 would be in a point system. If you were grading fights, you say that's a 3. That's just it's an epic round for Walton. Anyway, so 6 is a lot of punches landed, is what that is. Boom. Round 5, Johnson now down 39-37. So starting to get away from him here. Round 5 underway. This is the one judge judged this. We have one judge that judges this bout. Normally you use 3-judge system for championships, but in my big country universe, 1's fine. Here we go. Oh my God, another chance at an event. So right now, Walton is attempting to knock him down. It's clear. No, he's going to score 1 as he's pinned on the ropes versus 1. So close first minute. Both of them get 1 punch point. 3 is going to be 2 more for Walton. And 3 is 1 for Johnson. And then we're going to have shutout as Ben Walton can't get mitts on him. And he will be shut out. So the final minute, both boxers are tired, and Walton's going to win that round 10-9. All right, and so for those who haven't noticed, the 4th edition boxing bag chart is quite a bit different than 2.5. So if you look back on my Sullivan-Marciano fights, that is using version 2.5, which is the most common. That version was out in multiple books. This latest boxing time 4th edition is refined. So boxing times bag grades are more refined, right? The rules are more refined. And you'll see there's less cuts, there's less KDs, but in 2.5 is a lot more explosive in many ways. So there's a difference between the two. All right, here we go, round 6, and Walton is winning this fight right now handily. The champ's winning it handily. However, he comes out slow, and Johnson off his stool scores 3 punch points. So a huge round for Johnson. And Walton was shut out. So what does that tell you? Again, abstractly, he gets the highest value you can get. There's only 2 chances on the whole chart. Johnson scores 3, and Walton scores nothing. Johnson dominates the first minute, pummeling him, throwing combinations, maybe even got him on the ropes in the corner, and Johnson comes off his stool, making a stand in round 6. And we're both going to fail to score in the second minute. So Johnson, that tells me that there's clinching. Walton is backpedaling, staying away from Johnson, and Johnson might have punched himself out in that first minute. 2-0 again. Wow, so Walton completely shut out. And another 3 points and a TKO point against Walton as Johnson unloads a flurry of punches in the first minute and then finishes the round with a flurry of hard combinations. He is going to steal that round. I won't say steal it. He flat whooped Walton in that round. 0-0-0, 3-0-3. And again, this is why I tell people, you can play a game like Title Bout or a game like Glory Days, Let's Rumble, and they're going to tell you what to think of the fight. My game is abstract. You're supposed to use your imagination and make sense of what this fight looks like. So I don't attempt to provide a level of detail that tells you everything. You're free to make sense of your boxer. So I look at Cyrus, I go, well, he does this well, he does this well, so what does that 3 mean? Well, it means he's got a power of F. That means he's scoring points, right? So he's not hitting him with big shots. He's hitting him with combinations. That's what that F tells me. So I'm informed abstractly by the quality of his ratings, but 3 points, that tells me he's getting lots of punches on target and he's getting lots of fast combinations in, right? Okay. Especially since he's a slugger, he's a higher rated slugger with no power. What does that tell you? Well, that tells you that he gets inside, throws lots of big power punches. They just don't have a lot of power in them. So he could be throwing uppercuts, haymakers, hooks from the inside, from defensive posture, but they just don't. He just doesn't have knockout power, right? Wow. So Johnson finally gets off his horse, comes off his stool in 6, and scores a TKO point in points against Walton. Unbelievable. All right, here we go. So we're going to start up round 7 with a 2 point a minute. And guess what? Walton's corner tells him, again, how do I make sense of this? He has scored nothing. Then he comes off and scores 2. His corner telling him, you got to do better, man. You got to come off the stool. And shuts out Johnson in the first minute. So things have reversed here. The champion does what he's got to do to reverse this fight. He scores another 2, and of course 2 more points. So the second minute of round 7, a lot of action, 2-2. And here we go, another TKO in points against Johnson, and another 4. So he's going to win the round 6-4. And look at this right now. Walton takes it back. He's shut out in round 6, but in round 7 takes the advice of counsel, comes off the stool, and for 3 straight minutes takes it to Johnson. Johnson does rally, though, scores 4 points in the final 2 minutes. However, Johnson, with 8 TKO points, has already given up 1, 2, 3, 4. So in round 8, on points, Johnson is starting to show wear around the eyes, etc. And we have not seen an actual, well, we do have a cut. Walton did cut him. So those TKO points might be showing that. They can't get that. They can't keep that cut shut, right? All right, here we go. They cannot. Oh, now we're going to get a big first minute, potentially Walton. We do get an epic first minute. So this is going to be important. Can Walton get a KD or a KO? No, he's going to score 2, though. He does have an epic minute. So that tells me, since it was an event, and he scored 2, that tells me he got Johnson on the ropes. So Johnson backed onto the ropes, but Johnson, firing back, scores 3 points. So from being pinned in the corner, fighting, defensive fighting out of the corner, eventually fights himself out of trouble, scores 3 points. Johnson and Walton are toe-to-toe. This is a brilliant heavyweight battle, and I knew it would be based on their test play values. 2-0. 5. You could say that these boxers from the test play have never played on these charts. That's a trip. I just thought about that because all these play testing was done way back with version 1 and then eventually version 1.5 or whatever before the books were published. And I haven't fought these two at all since polishing up the version 4 charts. So in a way, ironically, this is the first time these two fighters have fought at all on these charts, which is kind of fun. All right, so second minute of round 8, 3 more, and that's a TKO point. So there we go. So Johnson has amassed enough points in just 2 minutes that he's got a TKO already against Walton. This tells me Johnson is hammering him with combination of power punches. Despite not having power, he is hitting him with big power punches, flush, and Walton is showing it, right? Staggered, backpedaling, covering up, clinching, especially when I see a 0. Johnson absolutely 3-0. Again, that informs us Johnson beat the snot out of him in that minute, right? Oh, and then look at this. The final minute, the champ scores 3 versus nothing. What a round. Round 8. Fans on their feet. However, this is what's crazy. As great as Walton performed here, actually loses the round by 1, 6-5. So despite a huge third minute for Walton, and I mean huge, 3-0, unfortunately, he gave up 2 3-point segments, and Johnson scores a TKO. Walton does not score a TKO, but Johnson steals round 8 in the judges' eyes. Round 9, after this, Johnson fatigues. This is where the things could go to fall apart for Johnson. It's going to be 2 minutes, and we get an event. So we have an event. Johnson needs wants a 4, 5, or 6. 6 is a KD chance, so that's a chance. He's not actually knocked down. So again, we're looking at power versus desire, A. This is going to be a 6 chance. He needs to roll a 6 to actually put the heavyweight champ on his back or on his knee or whatever down. He has to roll a 6 to score a knockdown. Oh, down he goes. So we record that. It's not a KD, but as a KO. That tells me there's been a KO chance. That is an automatic TKO point. In the first minute, they come out toe-to-toe. But Johnson, remember those combinations. What does an F power mean? Well, when you're scoring 3 points, that tells me that he is not. It's not that he has one big punch. It's that he hits combinations. He always follows a big punch with a big punch, and there we have a KO chance. You've got to be kidding me, folks. Ben Walton is down. His chin is a B. If I roll a 1 or a 2, Cyrus Johnson is going to end this fight in the first minute of the 9th round on a 1 or a 2. No, 6. The champ gets up on a 6 count. And remember, the champ, because he was knocked down, cannot roll for the 2nd minute. So here's a follow-up chance for Johnson. He gets to roll without the champ involved, and he's going to follow up with a 1-minute segment. Here we go. Holy cow. Johnson scores that may be the first. No, he's been knocked down before, but he's only lost 1 fight, the champ. 6. Oh, the final minute. Oh, my God. And not only that, Johnson will not score anything in the final minute. So if I roll a 5, it's a KD chance. If I roll a 6, he goes down in round 9. No, it's going to be a 1-point punch. And, of course, no points scored in the final minute, but he wins the round. Cyrus Johnson, with an actual knockdown, wins that round 10-8. And he needed to do it because he fatigues now. So what we do is we lower every grade, and we have to refactor. So he's now a slugger B, a slugger A. He is a B. He's now a C against the defense of C. So C versus C on slugger chart is C. Wow, so Johnson for this next round will be a C. The reason I'm only going to jot it down here is it's going to change because Walton at the end of round 10 is going to fatigue. And Walton is already an A, so there's no reason for me to check. Walton won't get worse against the C. So here we go. This is a big round for Walton. He's facing a C, Johnson. Then he'll fatigue, which is going to probably reset both boxers. So this is a huge round for Walton. Round 10 is the strategic round in which he wants to take advantage of Johnson. 5, and he does. He scores 3. Johnson on C scores 1. He's got him where he wants him, folks. Walton needs to amass another TKO point. Oh, no, he's shut out on the 2nd minute. And 1 more point is scored. Look at this. Johnson actually has control of the 2nd minute, but Walton dominated that 1st minute. Oh, there it is, folks. Another huge discrepancy. Here's another chance at a KD or a KO. No, he scores 1 point, but that tells me event means ring movement. Maybe got him into the corner and started waylaying him. And, of course, Johnson fails to score a single punch point. and that's going to be a 10-9 round. And again, not enough points were amassed by Walton to score a TKO point there. Now we have to reset both. So Ben Walton now, the champ, drops to a B slugger versus a defensive D. So remember, all ratings drop. So it's B versus D. B versus D is B on the slugger chart. So Walton becomes a B for the remainder of the fight. And Johnson is, again, he dropped to a C versus defensive D. So C versus D is B. Uh-oh, folks. So Johnson dropped to a C, and because of Walton's defense, Johnson comes back up to a B. So Johnson's back to his normal B. So Walton's loss of defense could be tragic for the champ. Holy cow, we have got a brilliant fight between the two best heavyweights in my boxing time world. Unbelievable. This is epic. Absolutely the best heavyweight fight I have had yet. The Sullivan-Marciano in the version 2.5 book are brutal, but this is more what boxing times evolved into, a more deliberate look at boxing, right? Holy cow. Here we go. Round 11 becomes big now because Walton and Johnson are both Bs. Wow, and right out of the gate, we're going to see an event from the champ. He needs a 5 or a 6. 6, it's a KD chance. And again, we're looking at the chin. A, so we're looking at desire. B versus our power is now a C. So remember, power drops for Walton. So his power is C. The chin of the desire of B drops to a C as he is tired. So C on C is a 6. So we need a 6 to actually score a knockdown. No, but he scores that KD, which does count as a TKO point. Remember, it rocks him. He staggers. He would show wear. 3 for Johnson. He scores 1 punch point. And Johnson, despite the KD chance, Johnson's winning the round 1-0. Wow. And the champ struggling to score 4 on B is going to be 2 more points for Johnson. Johnson may win this championship, folks. 3. Let's see here. 3 is going to be 1 point for the champ and another 2. Holy cow, another round stolen by Cyrus. Again, if this was an actual knockdown, that he would have won the round 10-8, but it was just a KD chance. It does count as damage against Johnson. It just does not count as, in the judge's eyes, as a big round. 5 points were scored by Johnson in round 11 despite fatigue. But that's because the champ's defense is now dropped. So now you can imagine the champion not bobbing, moving his head, not slipping punches as well, but mostly you would imagine he's probably dropping his hands more. He's tired. So the champ now is not keeping up that front guard, right? Round 12. Here we go. 4. Nice. Good minute for the champ. 2. No points scored for Johnson. 2-0. Walton comes out laying lumber. Got to re-roll that off the book. Oh, Johnson, though, shut down in the second minute as they both do 2-0 minutes. And then we're looking at, another event and a 0. Oh, no, Johnson could be in deep trouble. And no, it's going to be a 2-point minute. 10-9. The champ wins that round. Holy cow. The champion is winning the fight on the scorecards. However, the only actual knockdown of the fight has been Johnson against Walton. So again, when you see a power of F, don't panic. Your boxer's not necessarily, they can still land a knockdown, but it's going to be harder for a guy like Johnson to win fights with flash KOs. Here we go, round 13. What a fight. 4 is going to be 2 points for the champ and 3 points for Johnson. Unbelievable. They're toe-to-toe, the crowd on their feet. That first minute is nothing but punches, no clinching, bobbing, weaving, standing at center ring. Unbelievable. Oh, we're going to get 2 more for the champ. No, excuse me, 1 more point for the champ in the second minute. And an event. This could be ring movement, could be a cut. Nope, it's a KD chance. Oh, no. Holy cow. Again, we need power now. Johnson is the worst you can be, so he's an F. We already know that. The chin, though, or the desire, is a B, 6. So he needs a 6. Oh, he doesn't go down, but that KD scores a TKO. Holy cow. And they both get to roll because it wasn't a legit KD. It was just oh my God, look at this. They are pounding each other. Oh, he actually needs a KD. He needs a knockdown, a legit knockdown to blank that 5. So he wants to score. He's got an event. I want to roll another 6. No, it's going to be a 2-point score, though. And 5 is another 3. That is a 2. So why do we get 2 TKO points? The KD counts as 1, and 6 points counts as 1. That's how that scoring works. So 6 is a TKO point, and KD is so 2 TKO points against Walton in that round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 5 TKO points against Walton. There's no chance Walton's going to lose this on a TKO probably, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against Johnson. He only has 3 left to give. So Walton in the final 2 rounds of this heavyweight championship fight could win this still with a TKO. Anyway, Johnson's going to win that round 9-10 or 10-9. So Johnson wins 2 of the last 4 rounds. He's won 3 of the last 5 rounds. Johnson scored a knockdown, and then he has split the next 2 rounds with the champ. Round 14. Walton now, this is fascinating. You can see what Walton was doing consistently in points and damage. Since he's fatigued, Walton has not scored a TKO. So you can see what it's done to Walton. Hitting that mark, that TKO mark, has drastically affected his performance. 4. 4 is 2 points. Good job, Walton. The champ scores 2, but so does Cyrus. They're toe-to-toe in the first minute. 2. It's going to be no points for the champ. No points. They punched themselves out in the first minute. The second minute, they're clinching and holding, bobbing and weaving. There's not a lot of punches landed. And then final 3 points. Oh, and a KD, maybe a KD chance. No, he's going to score nothing. He gets pinned in the corner and gets walloped. So in round 14, the champ scores 3, and Johnson on an event is a 0. That means he literally got jammed into the corner, and that explains why Walton exploded on him. That's a 10-9 round for the champ. No TKO points scored, though. And folks, we're going to make it to the end. The best heavyweight fight I have probably had since putting the game out. Unbelievable. This has been brilliant. Walton goes the distance. Johnson, excuse me, is going to go the distance with Walton. Final round. The champ, I haven't tallied this. I don't know who's winning, but I'm thinking this is a very, very close fight. Here we go. Ding, ding, ding. Final round of a championship fight. Oh, and the champ. There's a reason he's the champ. He comes out and scores 3 points to 1 in the first minute. The crowd here on their feet in Central City, on their feet roaring as the champ comes out and beats the snot out of Johnson in the first minute. The second minute, it's going to be an exchange of blows, and Johnson wins the second minute. Folks, this is it. The final minute of action of the best championship heavyweight fight I have had probably since publishing the game. Unbelievable. 3-3. I'm happy I never did this in playtesting, because that would have been ruined. Oh, 1 point each. So the last minute, they kind of punched themselves out. 3, 4, 5 points to 4. Oh, he wins it by 1 punch point, does the champ. We got to tally the judge. What does the judge say, folks? Hold on to your pants. What a fight. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 off of, let's see, 150 would be the total you could get, minus 7. 143, so judge scores it 143 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, 143 to 141. Judge gives it. It is going to be a Walton win, points, 15 rounds. He goes to 22, 15, 1-0 in his second title defense. Walton defeats Johnson. Oh, I feel bad for Springfield. They're so proud of their young heavyweight. I shouldn't feel bad for him. He gave Walton the best fight of his career. Again, Walton did lose one fight against let's see here, where did he lose that fight? He lost to Carlisle on a KO. Carlisle caught Walton and he didn't get up. It was a shocker. Outside of that, it's not been close. He did have a couple of finish on points. A unanimous decision. That's when I was using 3 judges. And then I had a points victory similar to this, and a points victory, and a points victory, and a points victory. So, ironically, now that he's fighting better fighters, he's had 2 of his last 3 fights. No, he's had 1, 2, 3 of his last 5 fights have ended on points now that he's fighting better fighters. 15-round championship defense. He goes to 22, 15, 1 and no ties. Unbelievable. That, folks, was by far the best boxing time heavyweight championship fight I have had. Again, I talk about this. My boxing game is my favorite, bar none. Of any boxing game on the planet, my game is my favorite. Of course, it would be. I made it to suit what I want out of a boxing game. And a fight like this, again, further proves why I prefer my boxing game, especially the 4th edition, with the way I've balanced out cuts and knockdown chances. So much better. But he has had, the champ has had 1, 2, so here's what's cool. The champ in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights, he's had 3 finish on points and 2 on KOs, legit KOs. So he's either going the distance or he's dropping opponents in his, and that's only his 2nd title defense. He is 2-0 in title defenses. And what a brilliant, we got to write down the title shot. This is going to be Walton defeats Johnson. His first loss of his career, folks, is a points 15 lost points. This should be 1 points, 1 points, 1. These should all say 1, actually, but I tallied the win-loss record over here. So he goes to 14 with 11 KOs. 1 loss, so he's 14 and 1. The champ is 22 and 1. Unbelievable! This was truly remarkable fight right there. It started off with 7 points being scored by the champ, scoring a TKO. He came out on fire trying to put this kid down early, and Johnson survives a flurry of damage in round 1. Then things started to settle in. We ended up with some serious damage, including a cut against Johnson, but Johnson won that round because he just flat boxed the hell out of him in round 2nd minute. Then again, Walton reestablishes control of the fight as the heavyweight champ with a 2-2-2 round, a 2-1 round, and then they start changing positions, and then the fatigue hit. He scored a knockout in the round that he was, the final round before his fatigue set in. He actually scores a knockdown against Walton. But then Walton easily wins the next round because Johnson is fatigued. But that's his last round before fatigue set in. And then it was technically, it was in the last 5 rounds, it was 3-2. Walton won 3-2. That last round turned out to be the difference. Hey, scored 5 points to 4. Unbelievable, folks. This almost was a draw. That is crazy. That was a brilliant fight. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.